Think about the roads you walk or drive on every single day. That smooth black surface might seem simple, almost boring, but it's actually the result of a fascinating industrial process involving heat, pressure, and millions of years of geology. So what exactly is that sticky black material holding everything together? It's called bitumen. And today, we're going to break down how bitumen is made. From ancient organic matter buried deep underground to the thick glue-like substance used in modern roads. Right here, on History of Simple Things. Bitumen isn't something humans invented, it's something we discovered. In fact, it's been around for thousands of years. Ancient civilizations like the Mesopotamians were already using naturally occurring bitumen as early as 3000 BCE. They used it to waterproof boats, bind bricks, and even as mortar in construction. In places where bitumen seeped naturally to the surface, people simply collected and used it. Fast forward to the 19th and 20th centuries, and bitumen became a key component in road construction, especially with the rise of automobiles. Instead of relying on natural deposits, industries began extracting and refining bitumen from crude oil, allowing for large-scale production and consistent quality. Today, almost all bitumen used worldwide is a byproduct of petroleum refining. Before we get into how it's made, let's quickly understand what bitumen actually is. Bitumen is a thick, black, sticky form of petroleum. It's highly viscous, meaning it doesn't flow easily unless it's heated. Chemically, it's made up of complex hydrocarbons, the same basic building blocks found in crude oil but heavier and more condensed. Unlike fuels such as gasoline or diesel, bitumen doesn't burn easily. Instead, it's valued for its binding and waterproofing properties. That's why it's widely used in asphalt for roads, roofing materials, and even some industrial sealants. Think of it as the glue that holds aggregates like sand and gravel together. Bitumen doesn't exist in crude oil as a separate layer you can just scoop out. Instead, it's one of the heaviest components found within crude oil. Crude oil itself forms over millions of years from the remains of microscopic plants and animals that were buried under layers of sediment. Heat and pressure gradually transform this organic matter into hydrocarbons. When crude oil is extracted from underground reservoirs, it contains a mix of different hydrocarbons, ranging from light gases to very heavy residues. Bitumen belongs to the heaviest end of that spectrum. To get it, we need to separate it from the rest of the crude oil through a refining process. The journey of bitumen production starts in an oil refinery. The first major step is called fractional distillation. In this process, crude oil is heated to very high temperatures, typically around 350 to 400 degrees Celsius. As the crude oil heats up, different components begin to vaporize at different temperatures. These vapors rise through a tall distillation column and condense at various levels depending on their boiling points. Lighter products like gases, gasoline, and kerosene rise higher up the column, while heavier components stay near the bottom. Bitumen doesn't vaporize under these conditions. Instead, it remains as a thick residue at the base of the column. This leftover material is often referred to as vacuum residue or residual bitumen. To refine the heavier fractions further, the residue is sent to another unit called a vacuum distillation column. Here, the pressure is reduced, allowing the remaining heavy components to be separated at lower temperatures. This prevents thermal cracking, which could damage the material. Under vacuum conditions, some additional useful oils can still be extracted. What's left behind after this stage is even thicker and closer to the final form of bitumen. At this point, the material is extremely dense, dark, and sticky, almost like cold molasses. Not all bitumen is the same. Different applications require different levels of hardness, flexibility, and temperature resistance. To achieve these specific properties, refineries often use a process called air blowing. In this step, hot air is passed through the bitumen at high temperatures. This causes a controlled chemical reaction, essentially oxidizing the material slightly. The result is a thicker, more stable form of bitumen with improved performance characteristics. For example, air-blown bitumen is commonly used in roofing because it's more resistant to temperature changes and doesn't soften as easily under heat. Once the bitumen is ready, it's rarely used on its own. Instead, it's mixed with aggregates like crushed stone, sand, and gravel to create asphalt. This mixture is what you see on roads. The bitumen acts as a binder, coating the aggregates and holding them together. When heated, it becomes fluid enough to mix and spread. As it cools, it hardens, forming a durable and flexible surface that can withstand traffic and weather conditions. Interestingly, modern asphalt is designed to be recyclable. Old road surfaces can be removed, reheated, and reused, making bitumen-based materials more sustainable than you might expect. While most bitumen today comes from refining crude oil, there are still natural sources. These include oil sands and asphalt lakes, where bitumen occurs in a semi-solid state mixed with sand and water. Extracting bitumen from these sources involves either mining or in situ methods like steam injection, which helps separate the bitumen from the surrounding material. However, these methods are more complex and energy-intensive compared to refining crude oil. So the next time you're walking down a paved road, remember, you're actually stepping on something that started as ancient organic material, transformed over millions of years, and refined through a precise industrial process. From crude oil to thick residue, from vacuum distillation to air blowing, bitumen is a perfect example of how raw natural resources are engineered into something incredibly useful. It may not look exciting at first glance, but without bitumen, modern infrastructure as we know it simply wouldn't exist. And sometimes the most ordinary things around us have the most extraordinary stories behind them. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.